Howdy again everyone, and today I've got quite a showdown for you. 3 of the latest premium 50mm lenses for 3 different camera systems, each with an extra bright maximum aperture of f1.2 and correspondingly extra crazy price tags. I'm presenting them here in alphabetical and age order. Firstly, the Canon RF 50mm f1.2 L USM, which is £2,400 in the UK or $2,300 in the US. Then the slightly newer and slightly cheaper Nikon Z 50mm f1.2s, which will run you £2,300 or $2,100 US. And finally, the newest and least expensive of all, the Sony FE 50mm f1.2 G Master. It's £2,100 in the UK and $2,000 US. All 3 lenses will require an excellent credit rating for you to secure, but each one also offers amazing image quality and incredible usefulness. You will get plenty of use for your money out of any 50mm f1.2 lens, but particularly one in which you feel complete confidence in its quality. All 3 lenses are ridiculously awesome, for sure, but is one of them a little better? The comment section below has the potential to become fanboy central, as these 3 are all from different and incompatible systems. As usual, check the description for links to my full reviews and affiliate links if you want to buy one and support the channel and so on. Let's dive in by looking at their build quality first. The Canon lens mildly disappointed me with its build quality. It does feel a little bit plasticky, not amazingly tough, and it's also quite big and heavy, weighing nearly a kilogram or 2 pounds. Its autofocus system makes a whirring sound as it goes and slight clicking sounds as it micro-adjusts, and it doesn't work very quickly. It does have a customizable control ring at the front to adjust all kinds of settings, and a lot of people will use that to control your aperture. Still, it is a bit of a departure south from Canon's L lens glory days, back when they were made of metal and felt like you could hammer roofing tiles with them. Next, the Nikon. This lens is huge and it weighs just over a kilogram. Its designers clearly didn't have casual photography in mind for it. It also has quite a lot of customizable controls, including a control ring at the rear, although its placement meant I kept accidentally turning it all the time, so I ended up just disabling it. The lens even has a little information screen on it, gimmicky for sure, but also quite fun. The lens's autofocus motor is a little faster than Canon's and a little quieter, although it does still make a slight whirring sound as it goes. This lens also needs the largest filters of the 3, requiring very expensive 82mm ones. And finally, we reach the Sony lens. Like the Canon lens, it too is made of plastic, but it does have a higher quality, more solid feel to it than the Canon lens, and it's also smaller and lighter than the other 2, weighing only 800 grams, although that's still hardly lightweight. Its body has plenty of control points to it, and it's especially ready for use in video work with its customizable aperture ring, although, like the Canon lens, it does display some focus breathing. The Sony lens has the best autofocus motor of the bunch though. It works quickly, accurately, and completely silently. Overall, to me, the lens that felt the highest quality was the Nikon. The craftsmanship behind its well-designed chassis is quite something to behold. Also, I didn't mention that it has by far the least focus breathing of all 3 lenses, but its enormous size meant that I'd really prefer to use the Sony lens overall, as it is handily smaller and lighter than the other 2, and also has the best autofocus system. Now, let's take a look at image quality. The Sony lens has a very small advantage in this test, in that it was tested on a 42 megapixel camera instead of 45 megapixel like the other 2, so do bear that in mind. They were all tested with in-camera corrections turned on. At f1.2, in the middle of their images, all 3 lenses look absolutely excellent, razor sharp with brilliant contrast, although perhaps the Nikon lens carries just the tiniest of little advantages in that department, in the middle. Let's take a look at the image corners now. All 3 of them see a slight deterioration but are still excellent. The Nikon lens looks just a little softer than the other 2 here, and the Sony lens suffers from just a tiny bit of colour fringing. Still, the differences between all three are barely discernible. Let's stop the lenses down to f2. Each one sees a nice little improvement here, although the Nikon lens is still a touch softer. It's the same story at f2.8, but at f4, each lens attains complete perfection in image quality from corner to corner. As you might expect, stop down as far as f11, and each lens begins to see a little reduction in sharpness and contrast from the effects of diffraction. Overall, each lens puts in a similarly marvellous optical performance here. The only one that's slightly different from the others is the Nikon lens. It's slightly punchier than the other two in the middle of your images at the widest apertures, but just a little softer in the image corners. But honestly, the differences really are not big. Alright, let's turn off in-camera corrections and take a look at distortion and vignetting on a full-frame camera. The Canon and Nikon lenses show the lowest distortion here, showing just a touch of barrel and pincushion distortion respectively, while the Sony lens's pincushion distortion is a little more obvious. Each lens, unsurprisingly, suffers from heavy vignetting at f1.2. Stop down to f2 and the vignetting is reduced pretty equally. Stop down to f4 and it goes away on the Canon and Nikon lenses, but hangs around a little on a Sony, so it's a slightly weaker performance there overall from the newest lens of the group. Let's take a look at how each lens works against bright lights. The Canon lens shows really quite a lot of flaring in that particular situation. The Nikon and Sony lenses are not perfect in this regard themselves either, but their flaring is a lot tamer than the Canon's, really. All three of these lenses are perfect for shooting in the dark, so let's see how they deal with chroma. At f1.2, bright points of light in the corners of your image show some noticeable purple chroma smearing on the Canon and Nikon lenses, but not the Sony lens. Stop those two down to f2 and they catch up with the Sony optic. Finally, with these three lenses offering you such strongly out of focus backgrounds, how smooth do those backgrounds really look? I don't have a standardized test for the quality of a lens's bokeh, so here are some sample pictures instead. All three lenses have gorgeously soft quality bokeh here. All three have a similar issue with cat's eye shaped bokeh balls in the corners of your images at bright apertures. The only difference I can report here is that difficult backgrounds, like foliage, could tend to present a bit of a problem for the Nikon lens, and they could occasionally look just a little busy there, but really no real problems. All three lenses suffered from a little longitudinal chromatic aberration at brighter apertures. The Sony lens was perhaps just a tiny bit worse than the others here, although not by much. Overall, well, here are the results. The scores that I've given, oddly enough, seem to be inversely proportionate to the lens's prices. The newest Sony lens is the least expensive, but it also seemed to perform the best in my tests. A word of consolation to the Canon lens though, it is still a fantastic optic, even if it can't quite match Nikon and Sony's offerings or value for money. Even the fussiest of photographers would never dream of being disappointed in owning any of these wonderful lenses in their camera bag, although Sony users might enjoy a few extra gloating points over everyone else here. Well, now, this was a pretty superfluous video I've put together for you all. None of these lenses are in true competition with each other, as none of them are officially compatible across different systems. But people who are truly obsessed with finding the best 50mm lens in the world might find themselves more tempted to buy into the Sony system as a result. What do you think? How much does lens selection play a role in what camera system you want to buy into? Let me know in the comments, and ciao for now.